It is Earth Day, the first Earth Day, celebrated in 1970 after the cause of environmentalism grew rapidly through the 1960s. Part of what fueled that growth was excellent writing about the existential joys of experiencing nature.
In 2010, Bill Green found that there was a course at the University of New England that taught students the best way to write about nature was to get out in it.
The Saco River makes a wonderful classroom. These are students in Owen Grumbling's Nature Writers class. Each week they read American and British texts before heading outside to experience an environment similar to the one they've been studying. They'll then write in their journals or in a more formal format.
A lot of times what they will write is that they will discover in the words of Ed Abbey or Wordsworth or some poet or Rachel Carson. They'll be reading and they'll write in their journal, they'll write, I never knew people felt this way. I thought it was just me and some of my friends here.
The events like paddling, hiking, and climbing are designed to be fun and meaningful. The students are outside for about 5 hours each Thursday afternoon.
This is a liberal arts course which challenges the kids to examine our values, both good and bad, and how we got to the point we're at today. And it also challenges them to try to figure out solutions to the environmental problems that they've inherited.
So while they integrate matters of conservation and preservation learned in other courses, this is time to start thinking about the big picture.
A lot of the classes I take are biological-based classes, and this is something different. You know, it takes you out and makes you think about more than just the biological factor.
More or less like game day. You know, we study day and night, work pretty hard in that aspect, and then we get out. We get to experience something wonderful, magical like this, and this is where your mind really gets to just kind of wander.
In short, you can read Answinger's A Rinse in the River, or you can experience one.
Refreshing. It's not too bad. I mean, it's fall water. It's cold. It's cold.
ENV 333 encourages students to think about the natural world and then join the long history of writers who have used their words and experiences to inspire others.
That was Bill Green reporting in 2010. Now, Owen Grumbling is still involved with the University of New England as a professor emeritus.
You may have heard the name Rachel Carson in Bill's story. Her impact on the environment is hard to overstate. In 1962, she released a book called Silent Spring about the ecological damage caused by the mass use of a pesticide called DDT.
Rachel Carson summered in Maine, sharing a deep, intimate relationship with a Southport Island resident named Dorothy Freeman. Eventually, Carson built a cottage on that island where she wrote much of Silent Spring.
In 2012, we spoke with Dorothy Freeman's granddaughter, who knew Carson growing up and wrote a book about Freeman and Carson's relationship, and environmental activists about why Silent Spring inspired so many to act.
Not only did she have all of her science right, she captured the imagination of an era when people were gathering together and saying no to industry, saying no to all kinds of things. And so she really is one of the founders of the environmental movement that now I and many people across the country and internationally are part of.
A lot of people think of the 1960s as a time when the environmental movement rose up, but 50 years ago in 1962 that hadn't quite happened. So it took a real act of courage to write a book like that and take on a very powerful industry, the chemical industry.
And they apparently called her a hysterical woman and fought her very, very hard, but they did not prevail. And the committee that was set up by, I understand, President Kennedy really changed the course of history on this issue of DDT. I remember in 1972 when it was banned.
You have a personal connection to Rachel Carson. Tell me about that, Martha.
I do. Well, that summer cottage she built in 1952 on Southport Island near Boothbay was right down the shore from my grandparents' cottage. And my grandmother and Rachel became really good friends. I got to be playmate with her adopted son and spent 11 summers of my life around her, tide pooling, looking at creatures under her microscope.
When you think back to her, what most stands out in your mind?
A couple of things. One is that despite who she is internationally, seen as a crusading author and environmentalist, she was all that, but she was a really quiet, shy, petite, sweet person. Just a real gentle demeanor, a great person for children to be around, to be learning about the natural world.
part of our conversation there from 2012. And we will leave you this half hour with a piece of writing about experiencing all 4 seasons of Maine.
It's from the book My Life in the Maine Woods. The book is adapted from the diaries of a woman named Annette Jackson, a game warden's wife who raised a family in the Allagash in the 1930s.
The unrolling of the seasons continued to be a source of endless pleasure for me. I found one as pleasurable as the next, and I still wonder when I hear people say they have a favorite season. I still wonder when I hear people say, for instance, that winter is harsh and summer is genial. In my estimation, each moment of the year has its own beauty, and each moment is wonderfully different from the ones which precede and follow it. The change in the surroundings give a different aspect from month to month. The tribes of birds and the insects and the endless varieties of plants all have their own strange punctuality. They flourish on time, and they move along to make room for others crowding to follow. I make a quick roster of the things in nature that particularly delight me, and I shudder at the thought of a new calendar which might eliminate any one of the year's gorgeous seasons. Dewy morning, rainbows, blossoming trees, trees hooded with snow, the stars, moonlight, shadows in the still water, the earth carpeted with fallen leaves. All these lovely things and so many more are needed to make a year.